Hello and welcome to another episode of Literary Gladiators, the show where we discuss and debate literature in all of its forms. If it's written work, it's game. Let's meet the panel.
Hi, I'm Larry.
Hi, I'm Sara. I'm Kaila.
And I'm Josh. And Sara, welcome back to the panel for season 11.
Thank you. Thanks for having me again.
We are happy to have you back.
I'm psyched to be back.
And today we are going to be going over the first of two plays of this season. And this play that we are going to be discussing is Copenhagen by Michael Frayn. And the discussion starter that I have for this play is... What were your thoughts about the depiction of these three real-life people within this play?
I thought it gave the reader it treated them more as human beings than, I guess, these people you just picture. Okay, so Heisenberg related to everything going on with Germany, and it made you realize that they had a lot of feelings going on and were thoughtful people. They weren't just building these things or just making all of these different things. They were human beings with their lives going on and had opinions and thoughts on what they were making.
I would agree with that much. I would say that I like how they depicted them with their quirks and everything. I like how, essentially they were physicists. And it really, Bohr just happened to be from Denmark, and Heisenberg happened to be from Germany. And Heisenberg saw that discussing the details about the atomic bomb with Bohr was more important than what political fractions may be going on within his country, because he was half Jewish, and it could really he could be putting his own life on the line as far as because he was already lucky to have a job too.
Right. So. Yeah, I think I listen to it on Audible, as I do many things that we read nowadays. And I think that listening to it, I was able to pick up on those quirks a lot better, or a lot differently than I would have if I had read it, because I was able to put voices to it, and I thought that the way it was written was very concise for that. I thought that the characters had very good banter, and I thought that their friendship and relationship through this really difficult time was very well portrayed. You could really tell how much they loved each other despite the hardship of the situation.
I would agree and disagree as far as that statement was concerned. I think that the development of the characters, was very intriguing. I like the way that Heisenberg and Bohr were depicted. I think that the strongest aspect was when the two of them were engaging in discussion in the realm of what were the two of them discussing when Heisenberg went to meet with Bohr in Copenhagen. I thought the little jabs, such as the Bohr winning the invisible poker game, was very funny.
Mm-hmm.
But with that being said, I think that they should have concentrated more on what were they saying as opposed to them being dead, looking back on what they were saying, and also and then with that throwing in the ideas of talking about future events, which would be something that they would be going over. And then having one of them serve as a narrator when, on one hand, monologues are part of plays where they speak what they are thinking because that's the clearest way to get it out. But I feel that there should have been a bit more of there should have been a greater sense of direction. And I think that this could have been much better if they split it into multiple acts or gave better details as opposed to just Act 1, Act 2, what they're saying and nothing more. And perhaps watching it would make it more clear, but maybe even listening to it would make it more clear, but reading it, it made it a bit of a slog.
Mm.
Yeah, I think it's kind of intentionally ambiguous because of the way that it's treating. I think that it's trying to treat the ideas of like uncertainty principle and these kinds of theoretical physical things, and in trying to make a point that is manifest in interactions with human beings as well. Now, I'm not saying that I agree that that's true, but I think that that's what the writer was going for, was the idea that the closer that they try to look at the motivations for these characters getting together in 1941 is becomes less clear the more that it's examined, and I think that's kind of what the author is trying to do.
I think it also had to be ambiguous because it was a fictionalized conversation of something that actually happened. So, like, that you can't say in clear terms, this is what happened, because we don't actually have record of what had happened. So you have to kind of be like, well, maybe it was this, but also maybe I remember it this way.
I still think that it needed to be. I think that making it clear would be more.
I agree.
Helpful.
I agree with you. I think that the way that it comes across is very. It's kind of brutal to try to analyze. It ends up seeming a little bit nonsensical, and it's like they get onto these really interesting themes, but then they're off of them as quickly as they're on them, and
it bogs down on the character and their potential, or the figure and their potential, because these are real life people.
I think that I'm right about what the author's intending to do, but I don't think it works so very well.
I think that it becomes much more understandable with what you were hitting on, is like it gets bogged down in the characters versus what had actually happened if you translate it to like a more real life situation. Like if you've ever had a breakup with a friend and then if you get to touch base with them several years later, you each have entirely different views on what happened at that final like breakdown essentially. And I think if you look at it more as a story about friendship versus like a story of what happened during World War II, then you can maybe like see that a little bit more clearly.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, definitely. And it kind of, I feel like, almost counteracts what the purpose of the play was, to be realistic and try and figure out and put the pieces together of what actually went down. But his imagination played with it all. And then, just like what we said earlier, just the quirks and the comedy just thrown in there, it kind of pulled away from keeping it realistic.
Yes, looking at it, a friendship would be one thing. I think that you can't help, though, but look at the historical background, because, I mean, it did pique up my interest. I know, and I think that Frayn did a excellent job engaging in the research and demonstrating that he did grasp the information, and he even wrote a large amount in the back pertaining to the historical inspiration and the factual information that went into writing this play. But that only does so much, because, I mean, I think it's better than... I think that it actually... He does a decent job giving the characters a sense of human quality, because I read last year 45 plays for 45 presidents, which could have been interesting, but I think they relied too heavily on historical research and not enough on fleshing out the characters based off of the historical research, and it became a bit too cardboardy and gimmicky. But do we have any final thoughts?
I feel like, too, if you aren't too interested in physics, reading it isn't so bad, but I watched an online play of it, and just the three of them just standing there talking for, it was like maybe 90 minute play. It kind of just drags on a bit, and if you're not really interested into all of that, it's kind of a drag to sit through, as I felt personally.
Yeah, I would think that I I think that the way that the play plays out, no alliteration not intended, or repetition not intended, would be a huge deciding factor, because I know that there's this, they alternate as to who's narrating among the three of them, because that's all there is in the play. Heisenberg, Bohr, and Bohr's wife, Marguerite. But the way that you're saying, it really was a bit dull how they came off. I mean, granted, they're physicists, which they have that reputation, them and the mathematicians, but still. You want to say something, Larry?
No, I pretty much agree with you on this one. I'm and Sara too. I watched the a YouTube version of it as well, and yeah, it's just not something that I would recommend. it's
a shame, because there was such great potential. I thought I was going to jump into this and love it, but not so much.
Yeah, it raises interesting questions, but it doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
But it's more concerned with the relationship, right? Than these really deep philosophical questions, like with science, especially considering, like how we keep increasing our abilities from, as a scientific world to reach new technologies, and the question of whether we should pursue them or not, is like something that again and again seems to be thrown by the wayside, and it's just kind of touched on, but there's really a lot of potential, to get into that.
If they stayed within the conversation, within the present time, I think this would have been a much better play. And I think, and if they wanted to jump into the future, do it later on, or make reference to it. I know that they did make reference that they were dead and looking back, and that they were ghosts, but you don't even need to incorporate that. And if you do, make reference to it as opposed to just Act 1, Act 2. Next episode we're going to be going over A Streetcar Named Desire, and that does the complete opposite. So if Tennessee Williams can do it, then I think that Michael Frayn can certainly do it too.
Yeah, I think he's trying to be cute with the whole uncertainty principle thing. I think that's why he framed it the way he did. But I agree that it does not work.
Most playgoers are not physicists.
Yeah,
that much is true.
I'm the lone man out. I thoroughly enjoyed this.
Let's rate it. 0 to 5 stars. Half stars permitted. Larry?
I give it a 2.5 for potential, but it's just, for me, it fails.
I'd also give 2.5. If you do have interest in history, though, and physics, you'd probably like it a lot more than I did.
Man, I'm giving it a 4. I thought this was fun. Benedict Cumberbatch played Heisenberg in the one that I listened to, so I feel like it was thoroughly enjoyable.
Okay. I'm going to give it a 3. I thought I was going to be the harsh one, but it turns out that I think that the characters were very intriguing. I think that I was intrigued by Heisenberg, Bohr, how Marguerite stood in as somewhat of a foil figure, or someone to mediate, even though they each took turns narrating, primarily Heisenberg and Marguerite, because Bohr was more of the center. It was his wife and his friend, but just the layout was very... the layout was just so cumbersome. So, another cumber word, but something more relatable to this play itself. But if you're interested in checking out Copenhagen by Michael Frayn, here is my copy. It was the winner of the 2000 Tony Award for Best Play. Thank you for tuning into this video. I hope you check out some more videos from our channel. If you like what you see, please subscribe to our channel for some more, and be sure to give us a good old like. And if you want to continue the discussion, feel free to do so in the comments. We'd be happy to discuss this work with you. Be sure to join us next time on another episode of Literary Gladiators. For now, keep reading.